Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our stream here on the official RENNSPORT Twitch channel. And today we will have games first, however you want to call it, event, because we will have a race, a 75-minute race at the Nordschleife. It's an open beta launch special. And you already see the cars on track because we are in qualifying right now, but I'm not alone. I am joined by Tim Ireland.
Hello, Lino. Long time no see.
Very long time since yesterday evening. So it might look a bit confusing, but these guys we see on the screen here don't see each other actually. So it's private qualifying. We just have the goals on, so you can compare the different drivings between them. And other than you might expect now from the sector times, actually not sure if it might break the overview, but this is one of the rare occasions in sim racing where the Nordschleife doesn't only consist of 3 sectors, but as it is in real life, a multitude of, I think, 9 or 10 sectors.
9 in total, yeah.
Yes. So lots of information together there. We're currently spectating yesterday's winner, Dominik Ladler, on his lap, as he's now coming up 2 Flugplatz. It's flat out in this modern machineries. And again, this beautiful beta. We were talking about this so much last time. Maybe it's your turn.
It looks really good in the dark, though, doesn't it? It's a fantastic thing to see it lit up. Because we don't have illuminated number plates yet, so being able to tell the cars apart in the dark is a bit trickier, so you'll have to bear with us, but the people with the founders' liveries are definitely helping out there with the illuminated ones.
Indeed. As we now go through Foxhole with René Reiter and Dominik Ladler. We have a lot of Porsches here today, so you will see a lot of them. Maybe also different ones. But other than that, we have, I think, 3 or 4 Audis, few AMGs, and a few BMWs, and one of them driven by Nico Nüninghoff, who hasn't been here yesterday, but I mean, don't really need to introduce him, right?
He's number 1 in this server for a reason. He's been powering through the ranks, as you'd expect Nico Nüninghoff to be doing. He's been climbing his way up the ladder. He's one of the, I think, still few gold drivers we have in RENNSPORT on the ranking system, but he's definitely showing why he's as quick as he is. And you may be thinking, hang on a minute, there's a car in front of him, but they might have started their laps at different times. Although we can see all the cars on track, that doesn't necessarily mean they all started as soon as the clock went to 0.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, as you can see, or well, maybe can't see, it's nighttime. And we have, of course, a fully implemented day-night cycle for the Nordschleife. Right now it's very, very early morning. The practice session was in sunset, and the race will also be in a later afternoon. So that's a bit of a challenge, of course, if you are not that experienced on the Nordschleife, but I'm sure Nico Nüninghoff has driven his fair share of kilometers on this track, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was in a race with me yesterday, actually. I'll let him win, basically. I was going to beat him, but I didn't want to crush his ego.
I mean, you would have definitely had the pace to do that, right?
Totally, yeah. But yeah, it's pretty dark now. I believe the race is going to be starting at midnight in game time, so it'll most likely be dark for the entire race. And yeah, we're not going easy on him for this first race at the Nordschleife, that's for sure.
I mean, it's a great way to show off the great new things that we have with the 1.9 update. Of course, the 1.9 update wasn't just the open beta launch. There was so much new stuff that came in. So many steps forward. Also, in terms of the, well, at this stage, established GT3s. But the new tires really doing their best on this track, I think. I mean, There's a reason why the Nordschleife is the test ground for basically everything that has wheels underneath. So
yeah, it's punishing for your tires for sure. It throws everything at one point or another on the track that you just can't do on a small 5 kilometer circuit. It's got huge fast sections, it's got twisty bits, it's got elevation changes, jumps. So yeah, it's definitely punishing for your tires and the drivers.
I mean, we will definitely go in the later stage of the next race, probably go on board with a couple of cars, and so you can have a good look at the track and how it looks. But now Dominik Ladler past YouTube corner and the ice curve. Now towards the jump you mentioned, the first of two. And the cars really go airborne. That must be a great feeling, but also a bit of frightening feeling in real life, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's I find it scary in the sim, to be honest. So never mind in real life. But yeah, your tires, as soon as they come in contact with the road, suddenly start flashing red, and you've got to try and get into that fast right-hander, sorry, and nothing really wants to do what it's told because of just being airborne.
Yeah, I mean, also, maybe you've seen some of the pictures, but with the Touristenfahrten, of course, you see anything drive there, from high-performance Porsche GT3 RS and Lamborghini Aventador SVJ and stuff, to Ford Transits and pretty much anything else that you can't imagine. Or can imagine, but maybe you don't want to. You see some cars just completely going the full suspension way, but never actually being airborne with the tires. That's always quite a funny look. Always looks like they are lifted, but they are not quite.
One of the great things about sim racing, I suppose, is that we can all have a go at driving these crazy combos on the Nordschleife, and many people do.
Meanwhile, the first lap times are coming in. Nico Nuhoff coming hot with a 8:05.9. It's, you kind of used to saying 1, right?
Yeah, he's definitely stamped his authority on that one with an 8:05. That's a pretty quick lap. I won't be expecting to see many people reaching that kind of speed. Joachim Fundo down there with an 8:41, Dominik Ladler with an 8:32, so you can see just how quick Nunninghoff is today.
But yeah, we see more and more times saying Joachim Thunder not really coming to grips with the track just yet. It's kind of surprising. I mean,
it's a big track, and even if you've been practicing it on other sims, then it's always a little bit different from one sim to the next. So, and especially with it being dark right now, they won't be used to their normal braking points and their kind of braking markers. So it's definitely going to take some adapting to, that's for sure. But the last few drivers working their way down through Tiergarten and Hohan right now.
Kaplan a bit further back, he's just through the small carousel.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make it round in the next 1 minute 20.
It could be tight, but of course qualifying is just one part, and especially on the Nordschleife, it does help. Not gonna lie about that, but it's not a crucial thing if you miss it. It's not like your race is over, you can forget it. Basically what I'm trying to say, it's not Monaco. It's
overtaking is not the easiest thing in a lot of the Nordschleife, but yeah, it's still a big old track, so there's plenty of opportunity to try things. And of course you have the Dottinger Hur at the end, which is a huge drag strip.
But I think this roundabout will close up qualifying. Nico Ninghoff on top and Robin Klaus, Toby Koenig, Andy Janowski, who we've seen in the GT4 class in the Monza event, doing fairly well for the opening part. And again, 4 different cars in the top 4. It's almost getting getting boring at this stage. But
not a variety of cars again.
Getting used to that. So basically that is qualifying wrapped up. We are just waiting for the session to translate into race mode, and after that for the drivers to get ready. Do you think we will get through turn 1 safely?
If my race yesterday is anything to go by, no. But hopefully these guys will be taking it a bit more seriously. So I would like to hope they will. Let's put it that way.
Well, in all fairness, it's double the cars we had yesterday.
Yeah.
Into an even narrower curve.
It is a standing start, though, this time. Like the race I did yesterday was a rolling start, so they've got that going for them, I suppose.
But here we have the live picture. Here we have 24 cars above 500 horsepower each lined up. I think we are missing 1 car on row 5, so we're waiting on him. But Nico Ninghoff on pole and Robin Klaus alongside him in the AMG. Actually, 2 Phoenix Audis in 4th and 5th. Of course, Phoenix the winning team of this year's 24.
We've got a real mix of numbers up front as well, so it could be interesting to see how many of these guys are Nordschleife specialists. The revs are rising. It looks like they're getting ready to go green, and they're off.
Lights are off, but
one of the Audis instantly got catapulted off. I am. Yes, I'm way ahead of you.
But we go racing, and oh, one of the Audis immediately off. A good start for Nico Ninghoff. And I think that's Klaus losing a position there. Ladler up into 4th from his side. And, well, that turn 1 didn't go quite as planned. But Gokpo making good moves. He was far behind in qualifying, but already up to 11th. Side by side with the number 23 Porsche, which is driven by Kaplan. Bit of contact there, forcing him to the outside. But up front,
didn't seem too bad for a start, though. I think most people got going fairly well.
Indeed, I mean, very unfortunate for the Audi who spun. I think that might have been Andy. Not quite sure. Seemed like it was the one starting from P4.
Yeah. Andrea Lichten seems to be completely stationary now on track. Rebecca got a drive-through penalty for jumping the start that time through. So that'll be a bit disappointing for his start of the race.
I don't think it will break his race, though. Of course, it will hamper him in a bit, but he is a fast driver, and we know that Joachim Thunder is just in front of him, who's also very fast. How much experience he has on the Nordschleife will show itself now, but you can make that time up in a 75-minute race. That's about 10 laps we are expecting today.
Sasha Petrulis is getting the enable headlights warning, as they haven't turned their headlights on, but is carrying on anyway, causing a lot of chaos as they come past Hockenheim towards Flugplatz.
But we can see that, of course, a few packs have formed. But overall, it seems like the top 14, 15 got through quite well. She currently in 15th is Adrian Lunio. I hope I pronounced it correct this time, because he texted me today and said if you could do this and this, it would be good for the stream, which I always appreciate if you have any feedback for that. But he also mentioned that his last name is not Luno as I pronounced it yesterday and all the times before, because I'm not a native French speaker and I haven't had French in school, so I'm not really experienced in that, but it's Lunio, so always nice to know.
I did have French at school, but I failed it. So I blame that.
I mean, that's a fair point to make.
But now there's definitely a few little groups formed at the minute. And we've got some good battles going on track. Got Turby Koenig and Robin Klaus fighting for second place right now. There's the Thunder Verbeck Granath battle, which seems to be raging for 5th place. Meanwhile, Nico Nunninghoff has got all the clean air in the world and is making good use of it.
Andy Womianowski also recovered back to 11th. One thing we haven't mentioned yet, I think, is that the fuel consumption has been lowered a bit in order to allow the people to go for a few more laps before having to pit. So, yeah.
With RENNSPORT currently being in fixed setups, that does include starting fuel. So if we'd left it as it was, there wouldn't have been a lot in the way of strategy as far as pitting was concerned. So we just added a little bit of, reduced the fuel consumption a little bit to give people a few options.
Oh, side by side up front with Robin Klaus being overtaken by Toby Koenig. This is through Kesselchen, a long uphill section. You now have the left-hander and Klaus going into the grass and around after contact. Luckily, damage is disabled this time, because that would have been very nasty.
Yeah, that's for sure. Oh, it's going to cause a lot of problems with the traffic.
Got out of the way. It's very unfortunate situation to be in on the Nordschleife to be spun round, of course.
Yeah. But that would have been a pretty hefty Code 60 if we had Code 60s involved.
Yeah. Oh, quite the big drift there for Ladler. Usually you don't really see that car that unsettled there, but now coming up to the carousel. Umianowski also passing. Oh, and into the grass. Ooh. You can dip the tires into the grass there because you have enough downforce and speed, but it's still fairly risky, so while it's possible, you wouldn't want to have to do that every lap, let's say.
No, you don't want to push your luck too much, do you? Interesting to see Romanowski taking the carousel there, because I've been trying to drive the Audi more and I cannot do the carousel to save my life in it. But he seems to have no trouble whatsoever.
I mean, it is a turn that seems kind of simple, but if you have to do it, it's not that simple. You have to drop down in the right moment. Depending on the car, it's a high second gear or low third gear.
I seem fine in the M4, but for some reason in the R8 I just cannot do it right. It always spits me out.
Oh, Granov going across the grass, exiting ice curve, and that's a very tricky situation to be in, because it's easy over the jump you basically create by going over the curb to lose the rear end.
Flat out through the next series of corners, just trying to carry the speed as much as you can.
Fabek actually had to lift a bit there behind Thunder. But now through Schwalbenschwanz. I found that to be a very tricky corner when I started sim racing. I just couldn't get my head around where to lift and where to brake on that specific turn. It was far easier for me in the next complex, which is Galgenkopf. figure that out, but Schwalben shots I really struggled with. I think everybody has like a corner or two or Nordschleife that took them way longer than the rest of the track to get used to.
There's so many of them, it's bound to happen at some point, isn't it?
I mean,
you can't take them all perfectly, there's just too many corners.
That's a good point to make as well. But now it's side by side between Thunder and Vrabek. Did Vrabek time it right? Seemed a bit early to me, but he still has the speed. And he's on the inside for Antonius Buche. But I think Thunder will be able to defend if he can keep it quite alongside. Actually, he has the top speed to just reclaim fourth. So Vrabek was just a bit too close entering or exiting Galgenkopf. You really have to time it right on the Dattinger, don't you?
Yeah, you need to be able to get enough speed up to get past before the Bilstein Bridge, otherwise it all starts to get a bit funny. You don't really want to be battling as you come into Horan, if you can avoid it.
So we've completed the first lap of this race. Of course, Nico Nillinghoff is a bit running away with it here, but Toby Koenig is still holding on very well. I think Dominik Ladler, Thunder, Granov all profited quite a lot, and actually Jiri Vrabek dropped back because of his drive-through, but still is an 8th. So that's what I meant. It's not game breaking or strategy breaking in that case, I think.
No, the field is strung out a fair bit now, but yeah, he'll definitely be making his way forward through the field.
Ariel Almeida also in 10th in a very good position. He's of course one of the long-term supporters of this project of RENNSPORT, hosting his own league as well.
Almeida making up 13 places from his position on the grid as well. So he must have been one of the people who didn't get to set a qualifying lap, but definitely making huge strides as the race has gone on. Not as many as Jack Stephen, who was made up 16 places. So he must have been dead last as the race started.
That's true. I mean, he's also 4 seconds ahead of Vrabek now, so. But I mean, that's also a big part of Nordschleife, to be kind of confident in what you do and also have the patience to wait. Because there are a lot of people who just push through and go like, I'm fast. I'm faster than you, I will try to pass, and then in the end they either overdrive it and wreck themselves, or in the worst case wreck both of them. Of course the incident with Koenig and Klaus was a bit different. It was just a bit unfortunate with the touch through the left-hander. But overall it's about knowing when to back off, basically. Especially on a track like this where it's kind of devastating to have just a small misjudgment.
Yeah, for sure. It is definitely a good teacher as far as multi-class racing is concerned, of when you should be pushing past people and when you should just wait for a better opportunity. And it's the same with overtaking here. You need to know when to hold them, so to say.
But speaking of Roman Klaus, he is back in the mix. He's in 5th. He got past Max Guana, basically replacing Jiri Vrabek in that pack of 4. And is now hunting down Joachim Thunder. And he's coming in fast, very fast.
There aren't many AMGs in the field, but he's maybe showing people that they should take it a bit more seriously. He's definitely got a lot of pace today.
I mean, he's definitely showing himself in the mirrors there.
Yeah, for sure. At night time with the full headlights on as well, it's going to be a little bit more intimidating. It's not as easy to see how far back someone is, and you don't want to be glancing at your relative all the time, so I'm sure it'll be a bit more intimidating for Joachim Thunder.
I'm not sure if you can even intimidate Joachim Thunder with the calmness he has. He's giving close enough space now to the outside of Bergwerk. Very good move there, but also very smart from Joachim Thunder, and that's what I mentioned. He just knows that he doesn't really have a shot at keeping a driver like Klaus behind for, what is it, another 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So he now hangs on to him.
Making his way up towards Ladler now, who's clearly visible with that livery on. There'll be no chance of him disappearing into the distance, glowing like a lighthouse.
I mean, it's definitely not a car you can just go black out on and then...
Rare occurrence for Nico Nunninghoff here. He didn't get a purple sector in Sector 6.
Oh, side by side into the carousel. You don't see that often. But that's a lot of confidence there by the AMG driver.
Yeah, for sure. And Ladler taking a fairly sensible decision there to try and back out and take the carousel rather than hang around on the top part where you just don't have the banking.
Oh, René Reiter is around at the exit of Bergwerk. That's also not a spot where you really want to... You don't even want to have your car going sideways there because you lose so much momentum, but spinning around is just so painful. I mean, having to climb up the mountain feels like a snail's pace, basically.
Yeah, losing speed at the bottom is so detrimental to the rest of you. All the climb, all the way up. And you just feel like you're fighting a losing battle with anybody behind you.
It really looks magical watching Nico Nunninghoff drive around. He's just so confident pushing the car to the limit.
Yeah, he seems to have got to grips with the changes we've done to the physics and the tyres very quickly, and he's doing an amazing job. You can't argue with it. I have driven around here in the night, but I've never spectated a race at night, so I'm getting to see a bunch of little details. As a driver, you're too busy focusing on the track for, like, the lit up Audi signs that we've just been under. Yeah, you don't notice it as you're racing around here yourself.
I mean, if you need something to do and have some time on your hands, just go around the Nordschleife in RENNSPORT and look for some little details. Oh, and that's Max Granov going very wide there, but actually keeping it pointing into the right direction.
That was impressive skill to keep it on the track there. I thought he was gone for sure.
Meanwhile, Mark Onemachi making moves up into 10th. Past René Reiterer and Adrian... You have to think about Lunio. Happens. Oh, they don't want to go side by side into Flansgarten, don't they?
No, they don't. Don't do it. Mark's been putting in the hours and he's got himself fairly up there in the ranks. He's a quick driver, but he's definitely been putting in the races, and he's ranked himself up pretty high, which is why he's on the number 3 board today.
Only also getting past Reiterer there. And Andy Romanowski got past Max Granov somewhere. Did Max go into the pits maybe? Yeah, he is indeed in the pits. Meaning he's now in 6th. Maybe challenging Joachim Thunder for being the first of the Audis.
just coming round to finish their third lap, most of the races anyway. Sorry, just start their third lap. So yeah, when do you think people are going to start? Obviously, Grant Arthur's decided to pit pretty early, get himself out of traffic maybe, and then use some of his pace. But when do you think everyone else is going to start making the jump?
I mean, Granov was in a very tricky situation, wasn't he? With both Thunder and also Lada not far ahead. So for him, it only made sense to come in early and try to undercut Thunder. But I think most of them will run the longest distance possible. I think that will be around about 5 to 6 laps.
Yeah, yeah.
Or rather said 4 to 5.
I'm looking at Jochen Thunder right now, and he's got about half the fuel he started with. So I think 5 you could maybe push to 6 if you really wanted to. But I think you might be taking the Remco gamble to do that.
Also a nice way to coin that terminology. But yeah, I think that will be very interesting in that regard. Just having a look. Adrien Lunior dropped down behind René Reiterer again. But I expect most of them, since they are not really in the close battles at the moment, except for maybe Umaniowski in the lap and the fight for P10 with Animachi, Reiterer and Lunior. That most of them will run as long as possible. Even though they are also closing in on Jones, so this might be a very interesting pack of 4.
Got Robin Klaus in third at the minute, but his last lap was 4 seconds faster than Toby Koenig in second. He is a fair distance back, but if he can keep lapping that quick, he's going to rapidly start eating into that gap. People back from Dominic Ladler say I've got slightly more human lap times than the 3 ahead of them. But, and of course, Nico Nunninghoff at the front, just dominating. I think is probably the only way you can put it.
I think that will be a very interesting battle here to unfold. They are closing in quite rapidly, but Benjamin Jones isn't slow at all. He's still lapping quite well. And yesterday in Daytona, he also had a good race until his internet connection, unfortunately. Probably, so we hope that this won't be the case here today.
Yeah, hopefully. The odd internet thing happens in sim racing. You've got to kind of take it on the chin and just reset and accept it. But yeah, it's never a nice thing when it happens, especially when you're having a good race. Of course, you can always blame lag. It's one of those standard driver excuses. So it goes both ways, I suppose.
Yeah, they're also closing in on Guana now. Of course, he has the much heavier car compared to them.
Yes, he's taken on a fair amount of fuel. You should be okay to go to the end from here. I don't think we're going to see anyone go for a 2-stop strategy unless they have a real tyre problem. Definitely not anything that's planned anyway.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, and Lunio hard into the wall in Metzgesfeld. Seems like he had a snap oversteer out of the first of the 2 left-hander and then over-corrected into the right-hand side. That's gonna throw him down quite far away. Very unfortunate for him. I mean, it's easy to spot that it was his car due to the quite obvious livery. Lots of curb there from Jones, going the right, allowing right try to come through.
Yeah, thank you for all the drivers using the Fenders liveries. It does make spotting your cars a lot easier for us right now. You can't all use it though, because then it wouldn't work.
You can. You just have to use the different platinum and diamond ones. Oh, big oversteer moment for Ryder into the wall as well. Luckily for him, damage is disabled for this event. If it was yesterday, that would have been not so good to the rear left suspension.
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the challenging things about the Nordschleife is just how close the walls are. You have a little bit of grass, which is basically just going to catapult you into the nearest wall. And with damage on it, it's more of a race of attrition than anything else.
Yeah, it's a good way to describe it. The grass won't really stop you. So... But... what I find difficult to explain why, but... for me, it's easier to push or get to the limit on the Nordschleife compared to other tracks in the world.
Okay.
Since, of course, you have this risk of throwing your car into the nearest wall and crashing out of it, but on the other hand, you kind of have a lot of stuff that helps you keep the car in line. Of course, the curbs are way higher, so if you not really get on the curbs, but just lean on them, it's gonna force your car back on the road. And it makes the limit way more... makes me way more conscious about the limit. It's not like, for example, I think the best example is Paul Ricard, right? Where you don't really have any consequences for not being on the road.
No, that is true. It is a big car park with a racetrack painted on it.
But look at Janowski. He is now the correct distance behind Joachim Thunder. Pulled out of the slipstream quite early. So they are side by side now.
Manages to get the move fairly well done though.
Indeed. Of course, the lag you see with the cars is only because of the spectator at the moment, so it's not for the drivers themselves.
Up front, Nico Nunninghoff took it easy that lap and only did an 8.11. Toby Connick did a 1.16. Robin Klaus did an 8.09. I said 1.16, it was an 8.16, obviously. But yeah, Robin Klaus was fastest lap that lap.
Martin actually going very wide there, coming out of the Schwalbenschwanz. Giving his position to Lunior, who again, after spinning out, is now back in P10. Drivers really go up and down the grid, don't they?
They do, yeah. Especially with a track like this and a bit of a longer event. Things go bad at the start, but Lunior seems to be one of our regulars who's very good at getting back to kind of where he should be pretty quickly. Most of the drivers in the top 10 are higher positions than they were in qualifying right now.
Oh, there was a crash between Ryder and Max Grana coming into the Hohenreich chicane. At least those two were stationary entering that.
Ooh, a bit of off-track action there ahead of him as well.
Not quite sure. It might be Jones. No, it's not Jones, because Jones is further back on the track.
I think, is it car 22? They had trouble.
Lichka.
They had trouble from the beginning of the race, I believe. Oh no.
Romanowski is now slowly creeping in on Dominik Ladler. Will actually be a rare occurrence to not see him on the podium here.
A long way to go yet, though.
Indeed.
He's still got 46 minutes of racing, so you may well make it. We don't know.
I think most people will come in this lap.
Think so, yeah. Looking at people's fuel, I think they'd have to do some fairly dramatic fuel saving to make it for another one. Max Granath, of course, he pitted earlier, so he's looking good. And we'll go rocketing up the positions once people start pitting. Well, everyone else in the top 10 looking fairly even on fuel usage right now.
Actually, now that we've just went through Adenauer Forst, watching Romanowski is getting past Lala, he's choosing not to fight this one out. But I mean, we know that from Lala, that he is definitely one who knows how to choose the battle and who to fight.
Yeah, you don't want to be defending for 45 minutes, do you? It's not going to help you pace.
Especially if it's a battle you barely can win. Especially when you come to the Döttinger Höhe and you lose out through the slipstream and you can't defend from that. You can't. I mean, there's dirty tactics you can do, but it's not gonna help your reputation and it's not gonna help your rating once you get caught out for it at some point. So definitely something that you should consider. But Lunio is now on the back of Reiter and Granath, who are still fighting after their incident, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of good sportsmanship involved there. There seemed to be, like, neither of them took advantage of the situation. I may have read it wrong, who knows.
But now that we come through Adenauer Forst again, I can maybe say what I wanted to say. Because if I'm not mistaken, Alex Emma, one of our beloved Discord admins, and a great person in general, I think the RENNSPORT logo is there. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I can double check on that. He's not online at the moment, but somewhere on the Nordschleife, and I think it was entering Adenauer Forst, is our logo in orange.
Painted on the road?
Yes. I mean, the paintings on the track are just so iconic, isn't it, for this track?
Yeah, it definitely looks strange if there's none on there.
Oh, Reiter going a bit wide there. Will Lunio go for it here? Down the inside at the lowest point of the Nordschleife, the Breitscheid Bridge. And indeed he goes through into 9th. Seen the opportunity and taking it.
Yeah, the Reiter had a couple of two-wheel on the grass moments coming up to there, so he definitely wasn't 100% happy with what was going on with his car. It looked for a minute like he was going to try the old switcheroo coming out, but he couldn't make it stick.
I mean, when we come back to what we talked about previously with the drawings and all the stuff on the track, of course a lot of it has been resurfaced in the recent years, but there's just so much history and important things. We go sideways through Mood Curve, and how did Reiter not lose that car then?
Yeah, there was a bit of wall assistance keeping him in the right line, I think, there. But yeah, he's probably overheated his tyres a little bit, and so he's not quite as grippy as he's used to.
Oh, Granath going at the top of the carousel. You don't really want to be there unless it's the warm-up lap. Manages to keep it in front somehow. And Nico Nuninghoff is in the pits. He's the first one to pit, and I suspect the rest of the brigade to also come in now.
Yeah, Toby Koenig is in. Robin Klaus is in.
Gap between Koenig and Klaus has come down to 10 seconds.
Koenig is changing tires, as is Klaus. I missed my chance to check with Nuninghoff because he's already left.
I doubt he will have changed tires. Remco Major before the race told me that it should be possible to do it on one set of tires, if you don't overdo it too much.
That's Romanowski, Ladler and Thunder pitting now. Romanowski not taking tyres. Ladler did take tyres, and Joachim Thunder also took tyres. So Romanowski making a bit of a gamble there, but he's going to get a decent advantage on the other two in the battle.
I think what will be interesting is, I mean, we've seen one of the Porsches come in very early, haven't we? And I think it was Jones.
It was, I thought it was Granarth, but I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, it could be Granarth, and he's currently fighting with Lunio, so we will see if he comes in. Oh, scribbly moment there from both of them. But we should see Lunio coming to the pits now, but if Granarth was already in, they both stay out for another lap. Did Lunio also pit already? And we missed that.
He has not. And he has not got a lot of fuel left. He's maybe going to be kicking himself about that later on, but you never know.
I mean, he can still enter through the Grand Prix course, I think, but yeah, he will probably not make this lap if he stays out.
Can you shortcut at the end of the Grand Prix course?
You should be. Oh, and I think he just parked it, if I've seen that correctly.
He did, yeah. He's parked it and quit to the pits. I think he realised his mistake.
Very unfortunate there for him. But
yeah.
He's not the first one, and he will not be the last one that happens to.
No, for sure.
After all, it's the first longer race on the Nordschleife we have.
Mark Onomachi currently in the pits taking tyres along with René Ritter, so that was, they were having a bit of a fight before. But I think Ritter decided to not go for tyres. Mark Onomachi also got a 5-second penalty, which I'm assuming is for incident points going off track.
I mean, he was in a lot of fights, and it's easy to pick up penalty points in there.
Him and Gokpo Lassa coming out pretty much side by side.
I mean, so far we are now in lap 5. And we still seen a lot of fights. It's the first longer event we have on the Notch. Of course, there's the 3-lap events in GT3 and GT4 every day. But apart from that, it's really been surprising to see so many people run so well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's especially with it being dark. The daily ones are in the day, so I'm assuming people haven't had that much practice in the dark. But yeah, they've been doing really good. There's been some battles up and down the field. Of course, Nico's a machine, so he's over a minute ahead of everybody else right now. But the rest of the field all seem to be involved in their own little fights here and there, and some interesting things happening in the pits as well, which is good to see.
I mean, Granov was, I think, the biggest outlier out of all of them. But after all of that, he's now 10 seconds behind Joachim Thunder because he was caught up in fights, which he wanted to avoid with undercutting, but he ended up in big fights with Lunio and with Ryter, so...
Yeah, I think how big of that 10-second gap is not really... You don't really see it until you see how far that is on the minimap right now. It's a huge amount of the track. Which, considering it is an 8-minute lap, you wouldn't expect 10 minutes to look so big, but it's definitely something that looks a bit depressing when you see it as a driver.
He was genuinely fast, though, so maybe with the time he has left, which is quite a lot, he will be able to get back into this rhythm. Still more than half the time to go.
Yeah, there's still 35 minutes on the race clock, so there's still plenty of racing.
And also the last lap that we will drive will be finished 4 to 5 minutes after the timer runs out.
Yep. Robin Klaus has managed to crawl back to 5-6 seconds up to Toby Koenig now, so he's definitely closing the gap leaps and bounds every lap right now. He's gunning for that second place on the podium.
As we are on board with Max Granov, we can actually see that to the... Is it east? Yeah, eastern parts. If we look there, it's getting a bit brighter, so the sun will probably not rise in this race, but it might be just that little bit brighter on the track.
Just give you a bit more visibility to the sides to give you an idea of your braking points. In the dark, it's scary driving Nordschleife and trying to do it fast.
Yeah, you only have a limited amount of light to see the track, of course. Limited by your own headlights, and those headlights are powerful. I mean, these are modern technology LEDs, so I think they also do a lot of cool stuff with that, on especially like cars like the Porsche, where you have those 4 LED dots and they can light up in different colors and stuff.
Yeah, which that works in the 911 RENNSPORT, not on track at the minute here, but I don't think it works on the GT3 car in game, but the 911 RENNSPORT definitely, you can colour change the headlights. And they still show really far forward, even in the kind of more obscure colours that you don't think would illuminate that much.
I mean, also the different founders liveries have different colors on the headlights. But anyway, it's very cool to see how technology evolves on a track like this as well. If we think about some stories that are told every year, some races in the fog where they drove on the track with 40 to 50 kph with their door open to see the white line to the left of the car and follow that. Of course, it's cool to hear and stuff, and I know there have been lots of complaints about this year's iteration, but I wouldn't like to see that happening today. It's a lot of risks.
Yeah, and I mean, the machinery goes so fast. Then, like, if visibility goes down, it's just getting less and less time for you to react to anything. It must be very scary driving in the fog. But yeah, I understand the pain of the people who paid to watch and drove all the way out there to the Nordschleife, but you've got to kind of put the safety of the drivers first sometimes.
I mean, it's not only the drivers as well, the marshals and all of them people. You just need one yellow flag or code 60, which is then easy to miss in the fog. And I mean, there's a reason why the penalties are so harsh on going 80, 100, 120 through a code 60. There's just nothing to compare it to.
No, the races like the N24 and the Le Mans 24 are like very different to the other races out there, just because of the length of the circuits, as well as the length of the race.
Meanwhile, Tim Schroeder is in chat and he's asking for platinum liveries, and we are watching a platinum liveried car in the form of the BMW from Gokpo Lassa. Just had to quickly interrupt you there, but this is the platinum livery. So you can go ahead now.
It's all right. I can't remember what I was saying. I think I was just saying that they were different tracks because they were very long.
Yeah.
And it's safety has got to be a huge concern. Gokpo Lassa taking a bit of a grass tracking move there. Luckily for him, RENNSPORT doesn't count the amount of blades of grass that clog up your radiators. Otherwise, you could be in trouble.
I mean, there has been a lot of stuff, and actually you're right, that was a diamond one because this is a platinum one. That was a mistake on my side, driven by Benjamin Jones. I really love that one. I always think it's diamond, but it's platinum. Because I refer to my livery as diamonds, but it's not. Or crystals, that's where the crystal comes from, but indeed, yeah, they are also dynamic. But yeah, of course, as you said, the Nordschleife is just so different area. You can't just put in a full course yellow and drive the whole track at 60 kph. I mean, what was funny when they caught the red flag in the evening and you had the Phoenix Audi just crossing the start-finish line a few seconds before they had to go around the whole lap, and it took them like, what, 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Going around pit limiter speed. Oh, and Jones, how did he keep that?
That was impressive. He was doing some tofu delivery stuff going on there. But hopefully, if we can stay with if we can see one of the dynamic liveries into a braking zone, then you'll be able to see how it actually changes with speed.
I mean, we have plenty of opportunity to watch that because we still have a lot of way to go. But Rowan Klaus is getting closer and closer to Toby Koenig up front for that P2.
He's really closing that gap up. Of course, now we can see him at some points of the track, which always eggs you on to go that little bit faster. Maybe start pushing a little bit more. He's already had some fairly rapid pace.
I mean, I heard it recently that there's basically two types of drivers. The ones that love a car in front of them, so that they have something to hunt them down. I think we both are of that category.
Yeah.
And the ones who absolutely hate it because it will just throw them off in their groove, in their drive.
Yeah, I definitely like to have a car in front of me. I find if I'm driving around too much by myself, my mind decides to wander off into other questions and philosophical debates, and I end up hitting a wall.
Yes, that's pretty much the same case with me. But yeah, it can give you a good target and consistency, and also something to orientate if you kind of lost a bit of traction in your mind. As we now see the Tim Schroeder flash being executed by Rowan Klaus. But of course I can also understand the other side. If you are a very capable driver especially, and you just want to put down lap after lap and you have a car in front of it and just scrambles around at some point, it just can throw you off because you think, what the hell is he doing? And we're gonna keep that name.
You do always get those guys in sim racing where if you are in a race that has a mandatory pit stop, will sometimes take it in the first lap or two and then just essentially hot stint for the rest of the race and go for the extreme undercuts. But yeah, I sim race because I like to pretend I'm a racing driver and have fights on track. So I don't like doing things like that. I'd rather have an hour race of fighting and come out of it with a worse position.
I mean, the cool thing about sim racing is that from that pretending to be a race car driver, you can actually become a race car driver if you're good enough. And there are more and more examples also on the Nordschleife year after year, which is kind of crazy.
For sure. It's not something I'm ever going to do, but there are definitely people out there making the jump. I'm content with just pretending.
And Robin Klaus is getting closer and closer to Toby Koenig, but also the gap to Nico Nunninghoff, I think, is being around about the same. He's not losing out too much. Last lap I see on your screen, he was only 2 seconds off Nico Nunninghoff. And this lap he seems to be even faster.
Yeah, Robin Klaus put in a blistering lap last lap, but the gap is now huge. I mean, it's 66 seconds from Koenig to Nunninghoff. So unless something happens to Nico, I can't see him losing first place now. But he's got to contend with Toby Koenig first. And although he's caught him up, catching somebody up is one thing, but overtaking them is always another.
Well, but now he's in a good position on the Döttinger Höhe to just slipstream pass. And not gonna lie, on that run through Galgenkopf that Robin Klaus had, I thought he was gonna lose the car. The way the rear stepped out on him after the second apex, basically. But now they are side by side coming up to Antonius Bucho, but the Porsche seems to be just a tiny bit faster in the straight line. And I think
he's going to have to leave it until turn 1 after the start of the lap, I think, now.
I mean, that's the coolest thing, I think, about the fighting at the Nordschleife. Because if you can't do it on the Döttinger, there's still the start-finish line. And it's also the opportunity to counter-attack.
So Robin Klaus going immediately defensive. No.
On the outside, Koenig on the inside. Is he trying to hang it around the outside? Yes, he is. Klaus with a big sideways moment. And again, not being able to get past.
Toby Koenig there doing some amazing driving. Managing to hold it around the outside there. The pace difference last lap was 5 seconds between them. But of course, there's no point being 5 seconds faster if you can't get past the guy in front of you. But yeah, I think Toby Koenig is going to be put under pressure for the remaining 20 minutes of this race if he wants to keep Koenig behind him.
Oh, he has a good run out of the Schumacher-S though. Now into Bielstein. I think he's got him.
I think he has.
I gotta say, it was beautifully done. Just Koenig ever so slightly having a loss of speed in the exit of Schumacher-S, and Robin Klaus immediately being there to take that position.
Yeah, that was always going to be his problem, is that Klaus was faster than he was, and so any mistake he made was going to get jumped on. But you never know. Now he's got another car to follow. Maybe he's one of those following drivers, and he can stay with Klaus as they go through this lap.
But Klaus already opening up a gap nearly 1 second. But will he actually challenge for the fastest lap in this race?
He's not far off, given the length of the track. He's only 2 seconds, which I know sounds stupid on any other track. Oh, Gogpole Lasser, they're just losing the back end. We had a bit of a moment a couple of corners before.
Just went onto the curving there and then basically bottoms you out artificially. When we now see the behavior of the livery in the braking zone on Benjamin Jones' car. Because it actually moves forward and backward depending on the speed and all that stuff. You can also...
Yeah. It almost gets like right to the back of the car on the fast sections, but then recedes back almost kind of like by the driver's doors as you slow down.
Oh, Dominik Ladler going straight across in...
He's remaining fairly composed, though. He doesn't seem to have been fazed by anything. We did have a rare moment a few races ago where Dominik Ladler seemed to lose his cool and kept making mistakes, but he seems to be back on form here. He's keeping good control of the car.
It's like, of course, for him, maybe unfortunate that we sometimes bring those moments up for him. But it just speaks words if we have to mention when he's not on point rather than when he is on point. He's just so outstanding in that race, so consistent. Same goes for Joachim Thunder. It's such a rare occurrence when Joachim Thunder makes a mistake that's mentionable. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's more of a compliment to them than pointing out their mistakes. But it is such a rare thing that happens.
We are getting excited, and that's the thing.
Yeah, Robin Klaus seems to be opening up a bit of a gap to Toby Koenig now. Gogpole Lasser is getting very close to Benjamin Jones. I don't know if that's going to start becoming a battle. Or if it has been a battle.
I mean, it was, I think he overtook Gogpole Lasser when he had just been exiting YouTube Corner, or how it's originally called, Brünnchen. It's, as said, it was a fairly easy mistake to make. If you just go too wide and get two tires on the higher of the two curbings, it just bottoms you out and sends your car around, especially on a more front-heavy car like the BMW.
He does seem to be catching back up to Jones now, though. See if he can make up for his mistake earlier on. Neither car having an excuse to not be able to see each other because they're both running Founders liveries. You don't notice during the day just how glittery they are.
The liveries?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I think
you do notice, and it looks very awesome.
Yeah, I think it stands out with it more at night. But that could just be me.
This will now be interesting with Gogpole Lasser coming in hot. For him, I think it's a matter of can he keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
Oh, and Nico Nüninghoff is in the pits once more. I mean, he does have the time to come in and do a pit stop, but still kind
Have a
of
sandwich. But yeah, I was surprised to see him come in. Maybe decided he wasn't quite happy with his fuel level.
So what happened to Womianowski? Because he dropped down to 5th and is 3 seconds behind Ladler.
Yeah, I missed what happened to him. I'd noticed that they were there was like a bit of a gap between them now, so I'm not really sure what happened.
It's all very mythical. And Klaus is also coming in for another one, but might be a drive-through. Because he's not stopping. And also one of the other AMGs is coming in. Might be Alizaya. But I was already wondering if Robin Klaus wasn't a bit too fast in the pit entry. But I think there we have our answer. Car coming into the pit is actually Tony Johnson, not Alizaya.
Ah, right, okay. Alizaya does have a 5-second penalty. Not that I think it'll necessarily affect him too much. Tony Johnson also has a 5-second penalty. But he
Won't affect him too much either, so...
No. But he's also got quite a bit of fuel on board, so I wonder if he was maybe cutting it a bit fine. With it being 75% fuel usage, that's it maybe threw off people's calculations a bit about how much they could do. Benjamin Jones, however, he has a 5-second penalty, and that will matter because Gogpo Lasser is right behind him.
I mean, Gogpo Lasser doesn't know that.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, but...
But Benjamin Jones certainly will. Have any of the other top 10 got time penalties? I wonder. Nope, nothing showing up.
I mean, we have about 2.75 laps to go.
Yeah.
So, maybe we can just take a look at the Nordschleife a bit more now on board with Nico Nüninghoff coming up to Schwedenkreuz. It's barely flat out in those cars. You have to be very brave, otherwise you need to do a small lift. And then this hard braking zone into Arenberg, shifting down to 3rd gear. It really has a very good flow, especially I really like this section. It's probably my favorite part of the Nordschleife.
I like that part too. And then the old Vauxhall curving, so you can take as much of it as you like, but hard braking before you start accelerating out again.
You know, we got a few nice emotes in chat, which is nice to see. I really like those. Now coming up to Metzgesfeld. If you do a mistake there, how small it will be painful, especially with damage enabled. But you have so high speeds and not much runoff, and you basically can get into the wall perpendicular. It's not like most other parts of the track where you just slide along the railing, you just hit it straight on. That's not really helping your race's progress, isn't it?
No, definitely not. good to see all the spectators on the side of the track as well, enjoying the action.
So the version we have is definitely past COVID. So it's crazy to think how long that is ago at this stage as well.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. It was a while ago, but it's still something that we can all pretty much remember happening, and it had a big impact.
There's the Tim Schroeder flash. Also in the correct car, if you will. So
true. I wonder if he's been doing that all the time, just in case we watch him.
No, I don't think so. I mean, with the pace he has, I think it's fair to assume he has the time to listen to two idiots talk about anything that comes to mind in 75 minutes plus the remaining lap. So
maybe we can try and put him off.
Not sure what could bring off Nico Nunninghoff in any form. He's also, like most other people we've met so far, a very calm guy.
Yeah, for sure. It'd have to be the most extreme of commentators' curses.
I mean, we have done it once in RWL. It did work, but I think that was also a bit of a different cause. It's not necessarily us in that way. And of course, it was the longest race happening in RENNSPORT at that time. So
yeah, I've been very well surpassed since then with the 2.4 hour of Spa and this race.
I mean, it's kind of cool to have. Of course, 1 hour in real life is more or less a sprint race and all that stuff. But to see that we have had long distances being labeled as 60 minutes, what was it,
yeah.
5 weeks ago, and now we are doing 2.4 hour races, 75 minutes is just on the go. And more to come as well. We have so many things planned. That way is just very cool to think about and gives me a lot of hope for the future as well. And Andy Romanowski has spun or crashed again because Joachim Thunder's passed. He has lost a lot of momentum. In the back, that's Max Granoff in the Porsche.
Yeah, there's a bit of a group of 3 drivers forming there with Thunder, Romanowski and Granoff.
And Yossi in chat bringing up a very nice comment about Nico Nunninghoff. Nico Nunninghoff is handing out pepperoni with cheese. And now I do want a pizza, but I think today I will not have a pizza. Unfortunately.
But yeah, the gap had come down quite a lot because of his pit stop for to go to the toilet or get his car cleaned or whatever he decided to do. But it's, once again, he's just ripping chunks out of Tony Koenig.
I mean, also now as you just listed, did happen both in real life as well as in sim racing, so who knows?
Cars getting dirty, not a thing that happens in RENNSPORT yet. I hope we see it for the longer endurance races later on, but like we were just saying, really, the longest race we've done so far has been 2.4 hours. So car dirt, not necessarily the thing that makes that much difference.
Aerodynamically, it technically does, but
not as much as that time that Nico Nunninghoff's rear wing fell off.
Well, that did a lot of twist aerodynamics, that's true. He transformed his AMG GT3 into an AMG GTS, basically in one corner style. Which is the same situation we mentioned before with the commentator's curse, but Max Granoff is getting close. And he's getting really close to Andy Romanowski, and they're both getting close to Joachim Thunder, who's getting close to a back marker, which is maybe Leachko, but I'm not sure about that. It's a 20 car, which is Tony Johnson. Oh, Granoff losing the car.
Yeah, not too bad.
Oh, and
Oh.
what exactly happened there? Tony Johnson and Joachim Thun are not really agreeing on where to go, as it seems. On Johnson in the water.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of confusion with what was going on there. Lapping people on the Nordschleife is never easy, and of course, some people not yet to grips with the hood, and maybe not realizing that the car behind them is a lap up. So it can cause a bit of confusion at times.
I mean, no one can blame you for misjudging that on the first attempt or on the first race.
No, throw in Nordschleife and Night, and everything becomes exponentially harder.
I think it's always interesting to hear from the drivers of the lower class cars at the, doesn't matter if it's NLS or the Nürburgring 24, that really if you look into the mirrors, you just see bright white light coming your way from behind, and it rhymed. That also does rhyme. What the fuck? Should start rapping now. Spitting facts is better than spitting bars, I guess. But it's such a difficult prediction to make whether a car's going left or right, because basically all your mirrors are just lit up in white floodlight.
Yeah, you don't have kind of any of the signs of. You can kind of see a bit from the car behind you. Excuse me. If you can, during the day, you can see kind of like where the car's pointing, whereas at night it's just two white dots. People
Very
can
bright
bind
dots.
their indicators, but I don't think many people have done that yet.
Indeed, that's a function you can use, and I've seen it in use before as well, which is very cool. But yeah, it's very hard to predict at night. As you said, at daytime, especially if you have like a Grello or something behind you, that's very easy to spot.
Yeah.
But at night, just a white wall coming up from behind, and you don't also see if there's cars behind. I'm not sure. Of course, you have the radar and you have the mini-map and maybe some live timings, but concentrating on that while doing one of the hardest tracks in the world, there's only so much you can ask from the driver. Doesn't matter how good the driver is. That's why they usually in real life have an engineer or other people on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a lot of information to take in, and there are sections of the track where you just have to concentrate on what you're doing, and you don't have time to, even for a split second, flick your eyes over to the relative timing or whatever.
I mean, look at how much Romanowski is just struggling with the car right now. He's already did the sear tires somewhere before and trying to get them cooled down in time. And he's now under pressure from Max Granat as well. Now, if you were to ask him how many cars are behind that Porsche, he will say, I don't care. Just let me drive.
Yeah. Definitely. And even if people bind indicators, you always get, like, do you indicate the direction you want to go? Do you indicate the direction you want the other person to go? Even then, it can cause confusion. Without indicators, it is just two floodlights pointing at your face, and you hope you pick the right way.
I mean, in general, here often in those multi-class races, yeah, he indicated right and went left and stuff. So, yeah, it does happen a lot as well. but overall it's like, it always takes two. Doesn't matter if it's a crash or a good overtake, there's always two to it. And talking of overtakes, I think Romanovsky has lost the car a bit more and Max Granov went through. But yeah, as you say, it's very hard to predict, and communication is very important between the drivers.
It's part of what makes the longer races and the multi-class races exciting, though, and you, like you say, you do have to trust the other drivers and hope that they do what. Oh,
I think,
was he one of the lap drivers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, just maybe running a bit too wide to let.
It was Alizar, seeing as the time jumps up.
You don't have to give him that much space, Ali. Like, just pulling over to the side of the track would work.
I mean, we do know that Alizar is a super fair driver, and
he is.
But you don't have to give up your race, basically, because of blue flag. It's 8 seconds between König and Klaus. It will be one further lap. Because I don't think Nico Nüninghoff can slow down that much. Maybe he can actually, but he will not because he's Nico Nüninghoff.
No, he won't, no. He could, but I'm wondering whether that's why he stopped the fuel, because he knew that it was going to be going on a little bit longer.
I think he knew it before as well. He just went for a strategy that allowed him to push more.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, last lap time was his best as well, so...
Yeah. Obviously decided that Robin Klaus had got a bit too close there.
It seems like we've ran into an issue with the replay server.
I think so. I know we had a bit of a problem with the 2.4 hours of Spa. But I had a quick flick through the top 10 just before that happened, and they all seem to have enough fuel to finish another lap, so I don't think that will be a problem for any of the drivers currently in the field. So there shouldn't be too many problems, at least fuel-wise, for them all.
Well, what we can do is get one final lap in with Nico Nüninghoff. With creativity. And we are now going through Schumacher S, and you see the bright Ferris wheel there, and I think it's very beautiful. It has a lots of lights pattern as well.
Yeah, I was glad to see the Ferris wheel turn up. It wasn't there in earlier test builds, and then it appeared, and it always brings a smile to my face seeing that. But it is a very pretty track, and I think you're right, it is starting to get a little bit lighter, at least on the horizon. It's definitely not going to break dawn before the end of this lap, but it does seem to be a bit brighter, or maybe it's just cloud clearing. The moon is fully out.
Indeed, and we see the Tim Schroeder flash once more on one of the 2-lapped AMGs. But I mean, you can see even with the same class car, hard into the wall there.
Yeah, he's glad damage is off.
I guess the flasher did do something this time around. So. But yeah, now you go downhill. I really like the exit of Hatzenbach, and then you go through the Quiddelbacher Höhe now. It's a bit of a jump as well, not in the modern GT3s because they have enough downforce, but if you think back 8-10 years,
yeah,
these cars really took off there. I think they were some of the fastest cars at that stage of the track as well.
Nico easy through Bravery Corner there. That's always a scary one for me.
I mean, Schwedenkreuz is very fun to drive, but it's also super dangerous. Just has to be one tiny thing that's off, just a bit wet, or anything else that you wouldn't expect, and it's just a death trap in that moment.
Yeah.
But now you go through Adenauer Force. I think that's also one of the... I think Moritz Löhner talked about that. Or was it... was it Moritz Löhner or was it Tim Heinemann? I think it might have been Tim Heinemann. That he just couldn't find the groove through there, and that this was the spot where he struggled. And that's also what we mentioned earlier. That everybody has like one complex of turns that they struggle with.
Yeah. Mine is somewhere between turn 1 and the end of the Dottinger Hohe. I struggle with all of that section.
Well, at least you don't struggle through the Hohenrheiner Tiergarten then.
I don't find the Tiergarten too bad in Rennsport, to be honest. I haven't had too many problems pulling on the anchors after Dottinger.
I really love that section because you just can fully send it through there. Also with the 911 Rennsport, it's just like so intuitive as well. But now you go through the lowest point of the Nordschleife. I think it's, what was it? 100 meters in difference in height between lowest and highest?
I think so, yeah. I know.
Might be completely wrong, but... Isn't
Nordschleife the lowest?
No, it's the right side. I mean, after Reserve you still go downhill, and
yeah,
but it's just
of course you do.
Such a short amount of time where you go through the lowest amount of time in right side. Now you go up Kesselchen, then it's the carousel, and then it's the highest point of the track with the Hohe 8. I always wonder, is it weird if you are not a German viewer to hear those German words as the corner names, or do you prefer the... Of course, Foxhole and stuff does sound normal, but yeah. High 8 would... I don't know. it's a bit odd.
I don't know. I suppose I go from even the English broadcast on the N24 uses the German track name, uses German names most of the time, I think. So I kind of... I'm more familiar with them from that.
In all fairness, in Spa-Francorchamps, for example, you also say eau rouge and not red water.
That's true. And nobody says mineral water on Imola, do they?
Yeah. So, I guess it is ramified. But here you go through Hohe 8, and it's the highest point of the track. And from there on, if you have a 100 to 120 horsepower beta car on the Nordschleife and go through this section of the track, it's pure fun. Because you can carry so much speed through it, especially if it's a bit of an older car that didn't weigh as much. And it just has such a good flow, but also, of course, in a GT3 it's so nice to drive. Yeah.
That corner there is one that I always kind of overestimate a bit.
I mean, Gokpulas also got caught out by that, so...
Yeah.
Here we also seen a heavy crash 2 years ago with a Cup Porsche. Just clipped the curb on a lapping maneuver and went to the barriers at 240.
Yeah, you're going so fast through this section, and especially when you're coming up to Brunchen, then obviously the car de-weights, and if something goes wrong before then, you're just a passenger. Nobody's got any control over anything that's happening.
Yeah. And indeed, we just went through Bellof Essenschwalbenschwanz. That's where the first of the Dacias got caught out and in the collision with the dynamic Porsche, which, in all fairness, was just also a miscommunication, which can happen. And I do understand the criticism that the Dacia is too slow for the Nordschleife. I think it should stay, definitely. It's a vital part of the Nürburgring 24 to have those cars on the grid. But you definitely run a risk when you have a car that goes 150 and then 260.
The closing speed between them must be immense. It's like we were saying about earlier on about having headlights in your rearview mirror. Like they barely have time to see them by the time the GT3s are trying to get past.
But Nico Nüninghoff through Hohenrhein, through Tiergarten for the final time and out of the final turn, and he will win the opening event. So congratulations, Sim. He further showed himself and proved that he's probably one of the best drivers in the ranked system at the moment. He's one of the ones to beat. In the end, it's König, who just finished in P2, and Klaus couldn't really close up in time, and will finish in third still, but I think he will be a bit disappointed with that, will he? What do you think?
I think he will be, yeah. He definitely had pace. And, I mean, anybody who can get that close to Nico Nuninghoff's lap time is obviously got pretty good pace. So, yeah, I think he'll be a bit disappointed, but maybe take it for what it is. It was a pretty good result. You can't complain. But yeah, I was just looking at the leaderboard, and Nico Nuninghoff is ranked 1 right now.
So P4 to P10 is still driving, currently led by Ladler, who's 7 seconds ahead of Joachim Thunder. You can check all of this in the app, of course, so the live timings. But unfortunately, we don't have coverage of that anymore.
I was going to say I've been dumb and left my phone out of reach, but actually I can reach it.
But overall, I mean, it was a very special event, I think.
It was, and it was a good race. There was lots of good action. I think it didn't disappoint with how it went. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more events that are a bit longer on RENNSPORT. You know I like longer events.
You really do.
Yeah, I do.
And I'm sure we will also see longer events. And talking about that, this is the wrong one, because this is the correct one. Next week, we will have a bit shorter event than today, but 60 minutes. So good sprint on our hands. GT3s, GT4s at Spa. I think that will be a very interesting combination. We've already seen that at Monza, but Monza is more overtake friendly with 2 different classes, I'd say, because you have very long straights in between shorter turns. In Spa, it's much more flowing overall, so I think we will see way more class interaction.
Yeah, I think you're true. I think that's right. I think there's going to be a lot more impatient GT3 drivers, perhaps stuffing it down the inside in corners where they maybe shouldn't be doing it.
We will see. So far, we've always been pleasantly surprised, I think, with that. We also thought the same about the hypercars when they first came into the realm of RENNSPORTs, so, and it didn't happen. So I'm looking forward to that event. There's more to be announced in the near future as well. We have some very cool stuff planned. And meanwhile, Dominik Ladler, Joachim Thunder finished in 4th and 5th. Romianowski came home in 6th, and Granov is just right now finishing in 7th. So his strategy, while being compromised, did quite work out, I'd say, coming in early.
Yeah, he definitely made the most out of it. I'm not sure whether it was an intentional strategy from the beginning or not, but yeah, he made the most out of what he had, and he managed to pull it back to 7th, which is pretty good.
But yeah, I'd say we see each other next week on Friday.
Yep,
maybe there will be a few events going during the week as well. So keep your eyes out for that. And until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.